Gossipnista here, your one and only source into the real lives of New Yorkers and what it's like to live in New York City. So is it all glitz and glamour? Where do you start? What should you know? And who am I? I'll tell you everything you need to know, and you'll thank me for it. XOXO Gossipnista. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Gossipnista podcast. I'm your host, Mariana Monks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we're talking making NYC your temporary home, as well as some international travel with my guests, Mark and Kristen Morgan, who have essentially traveled the world and who briefly made New York City their home along the way. Now, I know most of us have either been essential workers on the front lines or stuck at home working for more than a year now and with not too much access to travel due to COVID-19. I, however, definitely have had the travel bug more than ever due to this, and especially after speaking with my guests, Mark and Kristen. Things are opening up, so I wanted to share a travel episode that excites us about our city, New York City, and the world around us. My guests today, Mark and Kristen Morgan, creators of Where Are Those Morgans travel blog, are a British-American couple who are scientists by trade and traveling life partners by design. They met at the lab where sparks flew, they got married, left their jobs and everything behind to take an 18-month honeymoon around the world, and have never looked back. Making New York City their temporary home, they share all the adventures they've had along the way in the city, as well as the far corners of the world. You won't want to miss this episode. Without further ado, here is my interview with Mark and Kristen Morgan. Hey, Mark and Kristen. I am very happy to have you guys on the podcast today. We have kind of a different perspective coming from you guys, but I am so looking forward to hearing it. How are you doing today?
We're great. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to this. Let's see what you've got in store for us.
Got a lot of questions, that's for sure. So, and the one that I'd like to start with, Mark, is are you and Kristen, are you guys originally from New York? Are you guys natives?
Okay, so I think you can tell by my accent that I'm definitely not a native of New York or America for that matter. I'm actually from England, the north of England, a place called York. It's a beautiful city with loads of history. And we actually met through work. I was working in New York because Kristen's from upstate New York. Yeah, she's from near the Finger Lakes. And we were working together near Rochester, New York.
You said a lot of great things that encompass York to some extent, right? So you come from England, a town called York, and
the original York, yes.
The original York, and then Kristen, you're from upstate New York. So I mean, you're not from the city, but you're from New York State. So that's awesome. Okay, so what made you guys make this move to New York City?
Yeah, so New York City had always been on our bucket list of places we wanted to go and try. We've got this huge bucket list as long as our arm of places we want to go and live and try out and just immerse ourselves into, almost like a try before you buy before we settle down anywhere. New York was always on there. Right now, we chose to go there because, as obviously as sad as the situation is right now with the pandemic, we wanted to go and collect some content from New York City at a time when we knew that all the tourist attractions, everything we would want to possibly do and see and photograph, more importantly, would be very, very quiet and free of people. It was by design to go now. We chose to go so we could get the content. I mean, it turned out that obviously because of the lack of people and the lack of tourists, the whole vibe of New York City and kind of what you hope it would be, we knew it wasn't going to be like that, and it turned out to be like that. But we achieved what we wanted to achieve. We got pictures of Times Square with nobody in it at all, which is crazy.
Wow.
We did Top of the Rock at sunset on a Saturday night, and we were the only people on the top of the rock. I mean, it was mad, wasn't it? But it was, we got what we wanted. It turned out not to be kind of how we hoped it would be, but then towards the end, the last few weeks, New York City started coming back to life, and it kind of felt like what we expected New York to be. and we left. So
Uh,
yeah, it's a double-edged sword for us.
yeah, but I mean, one, it sounds like you guys were able to achieve what you were looking for and experience some of the most iconic locations without, all the just fuss to kind of get there and get the good photo, get the good views and so forth. So that's exciting. And then, assuming it wasn't what you expected because you noted it wasn't that lively New York that you guys were kind of hoping to be in. And so just to give context here to the listeners, you guys came to New York when? And how long have you been here?
We moved to New York just after Christmas to experience, the Rockefeller Christmas tree and Fifth Avenue all decorated for Christmas. So that was very cool to see.
And you also
Mhm.
actually had pretty much your favorite day in life when we went to Central Park, and it snowed, didn't it? It was
Yeah, it was that perfect thick snow that was just falling perfectly and it created, almost like a movie-like scene. And we just walked around the park for hours in the snow like kids. It was wonderful.
yeah, we hit all the Home Alone 2 attractions, didn't we?
You guys are so fun. I love that. You literally hit all the destinations. I'm curious here, Mark, had you been to New York prior to this time? And Kristen, you being from upstate, I'm sure you'd been into the city a couple times.
Do you know what? I'm ashamed to admit this, but I've actually, before this, had only been to the city a handful of times.
Yeah, I'd been once before. I spent a few days there by myself actually, and I was just a real tourist. I was hitting off all of the attractions by myself, and that's when it was really busy. That's when it was packed. You couldn't move. Times Square was crazy, and I had to line up for an hour just to get into the Empire State Building, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I imagine New York City to be like.
So you got to see both sides of New York during this time.
Yes.
I am curious. So, for 3 months, you guys made New York your temporary home. Where did you guys land upon? Like, what neighborhood?
So we based ourselves in Yonkers for the main reason while we were in New York, I was working full time in the laboratory. So I actually
Mhm.
worked at Bronxville Hospital. So it was perfect in Yonkers because it was about a 4 mile drive to work. And then we could also take the train directly into the city every weekend.
Now, for those that are not familiar with Yonkers, can you explain where it's at on the New York landscape and how far it is?
Yep. So Yonkers is just north of Manhattan, not very far north of Manhattan. We just took the Metro, I think it was the Metro North Line Railway. It took about
Mhm.
25 minutes from Yonkers down to Grand Central. Passed
Mhm.
through, I think Marble Hill's about the furthest point north in Manhattan, and it was 2 stations past there.
Okay. So, New York, say it starts from First Street to like the 225th Street, above there.
Yeah, not very far above there, but just
Perfect, perfect. That definitely gives me context, and I'm sure everyone else. And so, what was your overall experience in New York?
to be honest, we loved it. We loved our time. We kind of went with the goal of collecting content for the website, and we left with the conversation that is, we could live here. This is something we want to consider in future. It became a part of our thinking for maybe a place to at least spend another maybe 6 months to a year to live, if not longer. Um,
Mhm.
you know, we were living in Yonkers, but we took the train into the city every single Saturday morning, and we didn't come home until Sunday night. So we did 12 weekends on the bounce in the city.
Mhm.
And I mean, we walked 25,000 steps every Saturday and every Sunday. We really,
Mm.
really, really got into it. We did every possible thing you could think of. We did it.
25,000 steps. That is a lot of walking. My husband counts the steps that we do, and they don't even equate to that amount. So that is a lot. Um, and you gave me goosebumps, Mark, there when you said you guys are thinking about considering making this, a more permanent home sometime in the future because, you guys have been all over the world. Glad to hear that New York really hit home there. So
It did.
It did.
good. So thank you, Mark and Kristen, for kind of telling me what your overall experience in New York was like. I want to get more specific as to what it is you like and dislike about New York City.
What we dislike about New York City, honestly, coming from much quieter places, is just the relentless noise. It's when your windows open, it's just siren, car, horn. It never stops.
We actually had to buy a sound machine so we could sleep because we weren't used to the noise.
So that was one thing, but that's New York City, and we expected it, and it wasn't something that surprised us. The good things, I mean, how long have you got? You know, the food, the people, even though it was quiet and because of the pandemic, we had a different experience, that we still met so many awesome people, especially towards the end when it started livening up again. You know, we just sit in a restaurant and we'd end up talking to the next table, the table after, have a few drinks. You can't really do that many other places. And obviously being there for such a short time, and New York's always been on your kind of bucket list from growing up, from seeing films and things like that. You know, there's just so many attractions and there's so many things to do. And for us, because we were there for a short time, we just felt like giddy kids just ticking off everything, you know.
That is awesome to hear, though, that you guys were able to make friends, kind of talk to people, feel a little bit of that liveliness come back. What was your feeling entering New York in 2021 and at the height, kind of still the height of the pandemic? Things were still unsure. I know a vaccine had been announced, so forth. And how did it feel leaving during the time you left now? Like, what was the difference?
I would say the difference was black and white. When we moved, like we said earlier, just at the end of Christmas in 2020, and we walked down Fifth Avenue without a single person in sight. But then as we left, we actually walked down Fifth Avenue on our last weekend there, and it was packed and crowded like it used to be. So a complete difference, but a better difference. And it's definitely exciting for the city because it's definitely going to bounce back. And we're excited to see that.
And so that's actually my next question. Do you think the city will return to how it was, and how long do you think that will take?
It will definitely bounce back. When we first moved there, a lot of the businesses and the restaurants were shut. And when we left, a lot of them are open again. And it was amazing to see how excited all the business owners were just to be, back in business and to be working again. And that excitement, it just resonated with us. New York is a very strong city, and I don't think it will take very long.
Yeah, after as soon as people trust in travel again, and they feel safe to travel again after the pandemic, hopefully towards the end of summer, maybe even the middle of summer, hopefully June, July. I mean, we walked through Central Park a couple of weekends ago, and it was packed full of people out running, walking the dog, cycling, playing frisbee, and it was just such a nice sight to see, wasn't it?
It was.
And hopefully tourism can pick up, very, very quickly. I know we're going to get onto our content, but we plan to write a lot about New York City, and to help people just plan their trips and get back to the city, basically.
I love that. Bringing people back to the city is what we need and what New York City thrives off of. So can't wait to see that content. You guys have headed out of the city already. What advice would you give to someone who is new to New York City?
I would say just immerse yourself into as much as you possibly can. Learn the areas, see which areas feel best for you, which areas you feel like you fit into the most, and then that would be the place that I would then try to find somewhere to live. There's a huge variety of places to live in New York City, not just in terms of the accommodations and expenses, but just in terms of the people, the cultures, the way of life. Soho to Brooklyn to Uptown is so different. Just go and spend as much time as you possibly can around each place and see what you like the best.
Yeah, the pockets of New York and the different neighborhoods are so completely different, and there's so much around. I agree with you, Mark. That's great advice. And so, what advice would you guys give to current New Yorkers while you were here?
I mean, can we have a right to tell New Yorkers what to do in their own? We're already there for 3 months.
That is true. I mean, you can. Yes. I mean, it could be whatever. It's always just good to communicate if you have any thoughts.
Do you know something that I noticed when I was working in the hospital? A lot of my coworkers hadn't experienced the proper, I would say, tourist attractions in the city. And I think, that's kind of common for any city, that you don't take advantage of the things to do there. So I think I would say try to be a tourist in your own city, because New York City really has so much to offer, and everyone should experience it.
And now is the actual best time to do that if you are a local, because there's
Mhm.
no tourists around. So you can go and experience all the touristy things and be there by yourself. I mean, it's not going to be like that for much longer.
I should be one of those people also doing these things, and definitely have it on my list. It just, the time is work and everything. But yes, New Yorkers, get out there and explore your city. This is how we're also going to bring it back. So I love that. Best tip ever. So if you were to be asked, what New York is, how New York makes you feel, and how you can sum that up either into your guys' own personal quote or maybe any particular quote that's out there. I don't know if you had a minute to look into this, but what would that be?
New York is the enviable icon among the world's greatest bucket list cities. Now, I know that sounds a bit cliche and a bit cheesy, but it really is. New York is the one city of all of those bucket list places you can think of that just makes you feel excited. It makes you feel, like the goosebumps come, and you can't wait to go there.
No, I love that. That is not cliche. That is well said, and I think a lot of people would agree with you. And it's also making me as a person who lives here excited that hey, we are in New York, and you guys who travel the world and see a lot, saying this means a lot. So thank you for that beautiful quote you and Kristen came up with. And so with that in mind, and you kind of mentioning you and Kristen, what you guys do, it's related to travel, a lot of travel. And so let's dive into that. Tell us about your background and what you do for a living, and then we'll dive into your travel blog. Gossipnista here. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I wanted to hop in here to ask that if you haven't yet, if you could please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen. This will help me reach more people and spread the word about New York City and those who love it. And if you want to stay up to date, be sure to follow @Gossipnista Podcast on Instagram. Now, back to the show.
So we are both scientists by trade. We work in the laboratory, hematology, immunology, that kind of thing. I was a flow cytometry manager back in the UK, and Kristen's done lots of different disciplines within the lab, and actually research and development and project management. And she kind of she's done the whole thing, really, haven't you? You've got the whole background. And we met through work. I was sent to New York to the lab up in Rochester. We met there. We hit it off immediately, didn't we? And then we got sent to Singapore a few times with work. And we would always tag on a little trip. So one time we went to Bali for a week, toured the island with 2 humongous suitcases, which was the worst idea in the world. But it's because we were at work. And then we kind of thought, right, what should we do next? So we just planned another trip. And then we ended up leaving our jobs.
Wow.
We didn't want to take a sabbatical, and we just because we didn't kind of want work hanging over our heads. We wanted the freedom. We wanted the escapism. We wanted to just be gone and doing our thing, and we not have to have that thing in the back of your head that thinks, oh, we've got to go back to work in 6 months or in 3 months or in 2 months. So we just quit. We took a bit of a gamble, didn't we, really? But it's the best gamble we ever took. And we traveled the world for 18 months. I think we've been to 35 or 6 countries. We've done about 15 or 16 US states now.
Okay. You guys just gave me a lot of greatness in what you summed up there, Mark. And let's start with, okay, you guys are scientists. That is what you do for a living. But, I'm so excited that you guys met through work and essentially were able to make a connection there. How long ago was this? And, how did it all happen? Like, tell me about the sparks and how you guys decided to be one another's partners.
This is going to sound really cliche, but it was kind of just love at first sight. We had worked together for a few years, but we didn't meet in person. It was always through conference calls and things like that.
Yeah.
But then once we met in person, we just really hit it off.
Oh my gosh.
And we kind of made a decision to try it, long distance for a while. And that worked perfectly.
It was difficult.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's challenging. Long distance is challenging.
Yeah.
But we made it work. We made it work the best we could. We did a lot of WhatsApp video calls.
Yes. But we were also lucky because, we worked for the same company, so we often saw each other through work too. And then every time, one of us went to a different country, we would just tag on a trip at the end.
I think the best thing about meeting someone through work as well is that you share the same ideals you've got a lot of the same goals in life because you're in science for a reason.
Yep.
And it just turned out that we both had these really, really, really big travel aspirations as well.
And what's the reason you guys were both in science and scientists?
My reasoning is I love to help people. I just, want to help people feel better. I want to do everything I can.
Yeah, I just like the methodical, repeatable processes. I've got that brain that just wants to problem solve, and yeah. So that was kind of my science side of things.
Oh wow! And then there was, not to add puns in here, chemistry between the
Oh,
two.
no. Brilliant. I'm annoyed I didn't come up with that one myself now.
No, you have. I just said it. There were sparks that flew. I love this. Okay. Again, scientists met through work. It was love at first sight. Decided to do some more traveling together. Okay. And you mentioned how many countries and how many states, and how long did you guys do this for? And when was that time period? And then bring us into what made you decide at New York?
So we decided to leave our jobs and travel long term April 2018.
Wow.
We got married in England in a castle. It was fantastic. May 2018, and then we left for an 18-month honeymoon around the world.
Wow.
After that.
Yeah, straight after, about 2 weeks later.
It seems like a fair.
We basically. Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, it was a castle. It was amazing, wasn't it? I think, what's the story behind the castle? I think there was one of the old queens of England was held as a captive in the top room in the castle, and then Henry VIII had it burnt down, I think. But yeah, so we set off into Europe. We did 3 months in Europe as novice travelers, just kind of finding our feet on the road, which was amazing. But I mean, Europe in summer is not a cheap place to travel around. That was an eye-opener for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then we went to Asia for 3 months, which was equally just as amazing. We saw so many new cultures and opened our eyes. It was perspectives galore, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to South America for 2.5 months. South America. We did hiking in Patagonia, and we went up to Chile and Peru. We did Machu Picchu and all of those bucket list things. And then we finished with a 3-month road trip around the States, where we did about 14 or 15 US states.
Yeah.
So I think it's about 35 or 6 countries so far, but we plan to double or even hopefully triple that over time.
Wow. And so, but you guys, were you doing traveling during the pandemic as well?
We got back actually December 2019, just before the pandemic.
Yeah, we were really fortunate with the timing. I mean, obviously it's not a fortunate situation, but it could have been a lot worse for us on a personal level.
Okay. And so you mentioned Europe, not the best time to travel during the summer because it's expensive. You guys were in Asia as well, and was that comparable in pricing, less expensive? Can you give us some ranges here on what you mean with regards to that?
Do you want actual numbers here?
You can give ranges, whatever is best comfortable for you guys. Yes, and as much perspective as we can give the listeners.
So Europe, we interrailed. So it's a great opportunity. That means that you can use the train system, and you can get on pretty much any train that you want. And that's how we got around. So that was a really good deal. But then certain countries also charge reservations on top of that. So we had to be a bit careful about which countries we did go to.
Hotels are very expensive in Europe in summer. Eating out is very expensive. I think how much did we spend in Europe in 3 months?
Probably about $15,000.
Okay,
yes.
That's a good amount.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we're kind of like mid-budget travelers. We tend not to stay in hostels, but we definitely don't stay in luxury hotels. We're kind of like the average couple traveling, looking for deals, but not spending too much time looking for the deals.
I love that.
We eat.
That's a great perspective to kind of have.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We try to balance it too. If we, do something that costs a lot of money as an attraction, then the next few days we'll do a few hikes and things like that are free, so it balances out.
Wow.
I think our biggest downfall in Europe was food. The food was amazing, and we just would eat out and spend so much money on food.
Yeah, we enjoyed our food.
What did you enjoy most about European food? Like, is there a go-to?
I mean, New York pizza is amazing. In England, we can't get pizza like you can in New York, but Italy, the pizza it's on another level. I'm sorry for New York, but it is.
What?
No,
really just go with the pizza thing here, Mark.
Pizza was amazing in New York. Don't get me wrong, but you know when you're in, where were we? We're in Napoli. We went to Napoli and we had pizza down right in the old town, and it was. I guess it wasn't so much the actual pizza itself. It was the whole experience. It was being in Italy having pizza.
Yeah, I'm envisioning that cobblestone, the little towns, the pizza, everything. Amazing. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Great perspective there. And so then you guys did a lot of other countries, and then you ended up in the States. You said you went to about 15 US states. And I'm assuming from there you kind of ended up in New York, but I'm curious, what are some highlights of those US states that you may have liked the most?
Without a doubt, the national parks. We did, I think it was about 18 national parks on that trip, and spectacular. Just, Yosemite, Yellowstone, the big ones. It just mind-blowing and beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, coming from England, I honestly think you could put any of the 63 national parks in the US into England, and it would be the top attraction in the country. in terms of nature and landscapes and geology and things like that. But we like hiking. We're outdoorsy type people, but we also loved going to Chicago for the pizza. Again, I mean, there's a bit of a theme here with pizza, isn't there? But also we liked San Diego a lot as well. San Diego is a really nice, relaxing, chilled sort of, always with a nice temperature, never too hot, never too cold. Okay. But that's definitely a cool place to consider going down to.
Oh, okay. So I'm from California and live not too far from San Diego. I mean, I was kind of in the middle. So, and I'm curious because did you guys go to LA as well? Maybe Orange County, and then what was it about San Diego versus those other places that kind of drew you to it?
Yeah, so I mean, we did San Francisco as well, didn't we?
Yep,
San Francisco, we did the Pacific Coast Highway road trip from San Francisco to San Diego. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to stop between Los Angeles and San Diego. We were big time tourists in LA. We did all of the Hollywood, the movie studio tours, and all the rest of those things. We would love to have stopped down in Orange County, Newport Beach, and all the way down to San Diego, but we kind of just had to drive between the two, didn't we? We were running out of time. There's never enough time when you're traveling. San Diego, we love the beaches. The beaches, just amazing. All the way down from, I think, is it Torrey Pines at the top, and then down. I think one's called Black's Beach, where there's a pier near an oceanography place, and then La Jolla. And we just really like the relaxed.
Yeah.
We love the hustle and bustle of New York City, but we also do like the relaxed vibe sometimes of a place like San Diego.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that with our conversation. Like I can see the big differences between, your travels and one, how flexible you guys are with regards to immersing yourself in a lot of different environments. But New York, then to San Diego, it's like black and white, right? In that sense.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that. It is a beautiful, relaxing location for sure. And so, did this whole pandemic again change any of your traveling throughout this time? And have you traveled since the pandemic?
So we have traveled. Well, besides New York City, we took a road trip in up northeast in October of last year. But that's the only trip that we've done so far.
Yeah, we did a New England road trip. We did Vermont. We started in the Adirondacks in upstate New York, and we hiked Mount Marcy, and then we did Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. We did it for the fall foliage season.
Beautiful.
And we ended in Acadia. We did Acadia National Park and all around there. We came back down to Portland and then back across, didn't we?
Yep.
It was a really nice trip.
That sounds beautiful, especially again during fall, when you're able to see all the beauty of the trees and all that. So I'm glad I'm so jealous hearing all these stories of your traveling. I've just been sitting in my apartment working for the past year and haven't even ever been to Europe. So
you need to go to Europe.
Yeah.
I know. Definitely it's on our bucket list for sure. So I'm vicariously living through your guys' stories right now, and everything you guys are saying, I'm noting down here. So thank you for that. And I'm curious, any unique travel stories that you have to share? Anything crazy or fun or interesting that happened throughout all your
So yeah, I
travels?
mean, we've got so many. What I'd like to do just two though. We'll keep it. We'll do one serious and one fun. When we
Mhm.
were when we travel, we try to do the touristy things because we need to do that because of our obviously because of our blog and the content we need to get, because that's what people do when they go there. But we also like to get off the beaten path where
Mhm.
possible.
Mhm.
And a really really nice opportunity presented itself to us in Hoi An, Vietnam. We just driven the Hai Van Pass on motorbikes the day before, which is a kind of a 10-hour bike ride from Hue to Hoi An. And it's quite tiring,
Mhm.
isn't it? I mean, it's pretty exhausting. So we were in Hoi An and we were tired, and we went out to this place to go and eat some dinner. And we tried to stay away from, there's a little area called the Bridge of Lights, which is where all the tourists go down to. So we tried to stay away from that, but along the river still. And
Mhm.
we went into a restaurant. We were kind of the only people in there, weren't we? And we ordered some drinks and some food. And then this old gentleman came and sat down next to us. And he started talking to us, and he was really, really pleasant. And he basically said, do you guys want to come and do a private tour of my local village, which is about 30 minutes away from here? And at
Mhm.
first we were like, oh, I'm not sure about this. This sounds a
Yeah.
bit sketchy, this. But he actually brought over a big, old, dusty, huge book that looked a bit like the Magna Carta with cobwebs all over it. And he basically opened it up, and it
Oh my
was
gosh.
testimonials from hundreds and hundreds of other tourists that have been through, basically saying that they'd been to his village and they had a really, really nice time. So we were like, oh, great, this is perfect. We'll jump on this. So we did. And the next day, we met him outside of our little hotel we were staying in, and we jumped on the back of a moped. We had to hire a moped, and driving a moped around in Vietnam's, scary enough as it is. But
Right.
so he took us out to his little village about 30 minutes away. And it turns out he was an old Vietnam War veteran, and he
Mm.
just told us the most amazing personal stories from the war. Gave us a tour around his little local village and showed us his family's, is it a shrine, I guess?
Yeah,
Yeah.
memorial, yeah.
Memorial.
Oh wow.
And it was
Oh wow.
the most interesting. I think we learned more in half a day with this guy who's called Mr. Fong,
Oh.
than we did in a whole month in
Yeah.
Vietnam, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, he told us some of the stories he told us from the war were just incredible. That him and his brother were on the opposing sides, and they lived next door to each other, so they had to fight against each other in the war. And he was a prisoner of war for over a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. He drew maps, and he just gave us the best descriptions, didn't he?
Yeah.
So that was a really unique story for us.
That is amazing. You can't get that anywhere. I mean, the fact that he came to you guys and you guys almost kind of received a little piece of Vietnam history into your laps, right? And then he took you around his village and shared those wonderful stories. It almost sounds like a movie scene, but I love
It
that.
was amazing, wasn't it?
And we've actually written about our experience on our blog, and we've had several people who are in Vietnam contact us about getting in contact with Mr. Fong, and we've been able to connect all these strangers. So it's been very rewarding.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Well, and I want to dive into your blog and please share about your blog and where people can get this content. But I don't want to stop you there, Mark. Was there another story you were going to share?
Yes, there was another one, and this one is a New York City story.
Mm,
We've got to keep it relevant, haven't we?
We
So,
do.
yes.
so it was probably towards the end of January
Mm-hmm.
when everything was still really, really closed down. You couldn't go into restaurants, even in Manhattan. There was nothing open at all. It was a really difficult time to explore because you couldn't even go in and get a hot chocolate on a freezing cold January day in
Mm,
New York City when it's
Mm-hmm.
snowing
mhm.
and blizzard in your face. But we were visiting the Empire State Building, and we had tickets for the day and we had tickets for the nighttime. We couldn't go into the nighttime slot until after, I can't remember, 7 p.m. maybe.
Yeah.
And we were really, really hungry, and we were like, oh God, we've got to get some food. So we couldn't find anything. So we walked just down the road to, I think on 34th Street, down to Macy's.
Mhm,
Went to Macy's, and we found a McDonald's up in the 5th or 6th floor or something.
mhm.
The seating area was closed down in there too. So we were like, God, where are we going to eat this? So we were walking around. People were eating the McDonald's as they were just walking around Macy's, but that wasn't for us. We thought, right, we need to find something here. So we headed over to the jackets and coats section on the 5th floor around the Tommy Hilfiger section, and we sat down on the floor in the corner of Macy's and ate our McDonald's.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is a great story too. That is a very New York story. And especially during, these times and unfortunately the pandemic, it's like there was nowhere to eat, right? There was nowhere to just rest and be able to eat your food when one, you're on the go and doing attractions and just going about your day. So it's like, where can you sit? And you guys found a pretty damn amazing place.
Yes, we were really pleased with ourselves.
And it's like McDonald's of all things too, right?
I know.
That is a great New York story. Pretty iconic there. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And so, tell us about your blog, please, before we move on to the next segment. I definitely want to let people know about, where are those Morgans and how they can get all this amazing travel content from there. Can you kind of explain to them a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I mean, we can try and summarize it because we could talk your
Mhm.
ear off all day. Basically, it's a travel, adventure, and photography blog. So we kind of, when we started the blogging experience, everybody kind of says, go niche. And we wanted to, but then we just kind of had all these grand ideas and we thought, but we love travel, we love hiking, and we love photography. So we just went general. We went against all the niche rules. It's what we want it to be is just this huge resource for people to be able to access when they want to travel anywhere in the world and get really thorough, in-depth kind of explanations about places. I think what we try to do is when we go and experience a place is we take note of everything there is to do there. We've got fear of missing out. Definitely. We hate to go places and not do everything there is to do. So anybody who wants to travel to the Grand Canyon or Vietnam or anywhere in the world and wants to go and make the absolute most of their trip, whether it be a sunrise shoot at the Grand Canyon or just doing all of the best things to do in New York City, for example, we kind of want to cover everything and be like a one-stop resource for everything to do with travel and hiking and photography.
I love that. That's a great resource, and also hearing you talk about I'm going to be on there all the time.
Yeah, I hope so. You should. We expect to see you. I can see who's coming on.
Can you? Okay, good. No, you can't. Okay, I don't know now. No, but definitely, once I'm able to start traveling, my husband and I gonna take a lot of cues from your guys' content. And I love that you guys are doing this. Love how you guys were able to, up and essentially kind of quit your jobs and, take on to traveling permanently and make a lifestyle out of it. That's something that I'm sure a lot of people would aspire to do, but maybe not pull the trigger on it, and you guys did it. So amazing.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that because it's a big move, isn't it? It's to leave the safety and security of everything to take a gamble. But we just do it because we genuinely just love to help people plan their vacations better. That's what it all comes down to. And when we get a nice comment on a post that says, this was so helpful, I've planned my whole trip based around what you've written, that's kind of what we do it for.
Yeah, it makes our day.
100%. I know that feeling, that you've helped someone and what you're putting out there is really just helping change a life or add an experience in a moment. That is giving me goosebumps right now. So thank you for that. And so we're going to move on to our next segment, but I do want to ask in this segment specifically, where are you guys off to next in 2021?
So we actually leave on Sunday for a road trip out to Seattle. It'll be about 18 days.
Wow.
And we'll be based in Seattle for about 5.5 months until October. And then after that, we're not sure.
Oh, wow.
Yep. It's an open book, and it could be anything. It could be a ski season in Colorado, or it could be a warm summer in Sedona, Arizona. Who knows?
And Seattle, I have a friend that lives there, and I haven't even been to Seattle, so that is exciting. Keeping it domestic right now, and then going to go international again sometime in the near future.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about Europe again. We want to go back and backpack there for a few more months once everything is safe. And
yeah, we've been trying to keep the international travel to a minimum during this pandemic. Just to play it safe. But we need to get back to England. We want to spend some more time in England. The time we spent there was before we started the travel blog, so we didn't really collect any content for the website. So we need to definitely go to my home country too.
Amazing. I may just have to track you guys and leech on there. I'm kidding, but yes, maybe. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for giving us a lot more insight with regards to you guys' travels as well as how you started it. Would love to kind of dive into our third segment here, and I like to keep this one more specific for tips for the audience on more international travel, but more so also NYC short-term stays and so forth. So the first question is, if someone wants to make NYC their short-term home, how do you recommend they do that? Where do you even start, and so forth?
It's a great question. So, how we did it, is specifically, if you work in healthcare, nurse, or I'm a medical technologist, there's positions called, like I'm a traveling medical technologist. So, how it works is there are positions that come up all around the country, and they'll be for 8 weeks up to a year. It really depends on the facility, but this is how we did it. So, a position came up in Bronxville, New York, at the hospital there, and we decided to make the move to New York.
So then, one, having a specialty, having a career, and looking within that career and opportunities to kind of that are maybe temporary, to be able to kind of just make that move. So you didn't just come without having a job to an extent, right? That would be your advice?
Yeah, and to further add to it too, if you are able to work remotely, with this pandemic, remote work has exploded. If you can work remotely, being able to travel to new cities is something that you can definitely do. We have some friends that I think have been inspired by our travels, and because of the pandemic, they now are working remotely full time. So they are on their own road trip, and they're out, in the Grand Canyon right now. So there's definitely ways to go about it.
Yeah, and there's plenty of industries that will allow you to do temporary, shifts in different places. I would my piece of advice would be, you ever had any kind of an ambition to go and live in New York City for any period of time, is to just do it, just go for it, because you can to and fro, you can think about it, you can deliberate, and a year will pass, and then you'll be in the same place. I would just say, just do it.
I like that. And do you feel, with you guys just doing it, was it a difficult transition, or was it kind of a little more seamless, not that much work? There was things and opportunities and so forth that popped up.
Yeah, for us it wasn't difficult at all. We made the decision, we knew what we wanted to do, and it worked out exactly as we thought it would do. I know a lot of people don't have the same kind of clarity that we would have had, but the advice still stands. I still think, just even if you have any kind of reservations, just do it, and then you can always go back afterwards, or if you like it like we did, and there's a potential for moving there, or for opening your eyes up.
Yeah, and if you didn't like it, at least then
Yep.
and you'll stop wondering.
It's almost like a negative control, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know then, and you won't ever think, oh, I wonder what it would have been like if I'd moved to New York City.
Yes. Yeah. Never stay wondering. That is always something I live by, right? Like, just do it, like you said there, Mark. I love that. Perfect. Appreciate that, those tips there. And then, so I'm curious, what are some tips for traveling that you could give listeners who want to essentially just pack up their lives and things and just go and maybe do the same thing that you guys decided to do?
In the question you just asked, the last two words you said were "just go," and I know I just said that for New York City, but the same thing applies to traveling. I mean, it's a big gamble, we know that, and you do have security in your careers, and but you can always come back to them and work for the next 30 or 40 years after that. Traveling gives you something that you won't get by just staying in your 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, in our opinion. We learned so much about ourselves. We never knew we were going to create a travel blog, but we absolutely love what we do now. And you don't have to travel and create a travel blog, but you can travel and get all of the other benefits that we got, which is an amazing perspective on life. It makes you appreciate what you have back at home. If you don't like the traveling, at least you've done it, you've ticked it off, and I think it's one of the best experiences you can possibly have to develop yourself and learn things about yourself and about your partner as well.
And to further add to Mark, I've had several interviews coming back after we traveled, and I found to actually have more of an edge because of what we did. It's really helped my career, and it's given me, more opportunities because of our travels than if I stayed in my old position.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's actually had interviews where the feedback has actually been, wow, we love the experiences you've had. We love that you've gone off and developed yourself and learned a lot about yourself in different countries, put yourself out of your comfort zone, and you've being around other cultures. A lot of those cultures work in the labs in the places that we're looking at jobs for, and it just, you'll be able to integrate a lot better into that sort of an environment.
I love that. I love how that all has organically fell into place for you guys. And, and again, how just to do it, I am curious though, logistically, cost wise, I'm gonna just go. How much is go gonna cost me to kind of have a head start?
Yeah, go is going to cost you a lot.
Yeah, well,
we saved a lot of money for quite a long time, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
We I mean, how much do you think, just ballpark figure, we spent in our 18-month honeymoon ish? About $35,000 ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I know that's a huge sum of money. I know, and that's something that you could put on a deposit on a house or something like that. We get that. We were there. We had those conversations. But it's just, the experiences were worth that money to us.
100%. Yeah. In another time, or once upon a time, I would have chosen that route too, versus a big New York wedding that we had here, but I still wouldn't have changed it because I got married to my husband, but also to New York here. Yeah. But the average, I would say, US wedding is somewhere between the 35,000 and 50,000. So it's definitely, those memories that you guys invested in the cultures and new experiences. And I love that just as equally. So kudos to you guys again. And so let's get more specific to what are some of the most amazing places that you recommend people to visit that are hands down, this took our breath away?
We get asked this all the time. So breaking it down by continent, for Europe, we'll have to say Switzerland. The hiking there it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's mountains, lakes, meadows, cows with bells ringing on their necks, just everywhere you look, and it's stunning, isn't it?
It is.
Lovely. Okay. Love
that.
that.
Asia, we'll have to say Japan. Everything about that country, the food, the people, the trains. We rode a bullet train, and it was an awesome experience.
Oh, wow.
And then for South America, we'll have to say Patagonia. Again, more hiking.
Yeah, we hiked the W Trek down in Patagonia, which was amazing, wasn't it? We did it with our tent, our sleeping gear, all our food. We didn't stay in refugios. We camped and did it all ourselves. We had, I don't know, a lot of weight on our backs, and we hiked, 80 miles in 5 days, and up mountains, and that was an amazing experience, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just, I don't know if everyone could do what you guys are doing, the hiking and the so forth, right? But it seems like such a beautiful experience, these places you guys are mentioning. Okay, so Switzerland, Japan for Asia, South America, Patagonia, and anything else?
I would say that's our go-to. When people ask us, we like to give one from each continent. Europe is just incredible anyway, because the difference between one country to the next, when it's just 50 miles away, the differences are astounding sometimes. So, I mean, there's a lot more places in Europe we could mention. But yeah, I think we'd stick with them. Yeah. And then the US, there's obviously a lot of other places as well in the US that we could talk about. And
New York being the best.
Yes.
New York sliding up the charts near the top.
Yeah, that was just me inputting my own 2 cents there, but thank you for sharing, all the amazing places you've been to and where you recommend people starting to kind of just get out there. And, I'm sure everyone is going to have an immense travel bug as soon as things open up and it's a lot more safely to travel and, just hitting everywhere and anywhere. And so I do want people to definitely connect with you guys. Where is the best place that someone can connect on social, website, and so forth?
I mean, yeah, the website is called just wherearethosmorgans.com. And that's where you can go and find all the places that we've written about. And it's a really, really, really great resource for travel. Instagram, I mean, Kristen's the social media, so you don't have to give all the tags and everything.
Yeah, our Instagram is the same. It's Where Are Those Morgans?
And Pinterest we've got as well. Pinterest at Where Are Those Morgans.
And Facebook as well.
We're kind of trying to build on the socials. Socials is that we've been working on the website, really. Socials, we're starting to social media takes a lot of time and effort to do right.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm sure you know. But yeah, we need to start working on that soon. But the website's the real focus for us.
And you guys have a great website with a map on there. And is that the highlighted parts? Is that all the countries you guys have been to?
It is, yeah. But because of
I
the
love that.
pandemic, we wanted to write about a lot of different countries and get a really nice spread early on. But because of the pandemic and our target audience being mostly, Americans, we've had to write a lot of content about America just to kind of stay afloat, really. We do have the intention to write about the rest of the world as well at some point.
Well, you guys are a great resource. I've loved everything you guys have shared. And, I'm happy that you guys made New York your temporary home for a second, and that you could potentially make it a longer stay, a more permanent stay sometime in a near future. And with that being said, again, thank you so much for your time, Mark and Kristen. I do want to play this little segment before I let you go. It's called a New York Minute. Are you guys down to play that?
Oh,
Of course we are.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. Favorite New York food?
Pizza or bagel?
Pizza.
Favorite season in New York?
Fall.
Winter.
Favorite New York tourist destination?
The Edge.
High Line.
Favorite non-tourist destination? Anywhere you may have found that wasn't touristy?
Everything's touristy in New York City.
I'd have to say any of the piers. There was always just great vantage points.
Oh yeah, like Pier 15, 16, 17, overlooking Brooklyn Bridge, that kind of. Yeah, that's a good one.
Favorite holiday in the city?
Christmas, of course. Yeah.
Christmas for sure.
Yeah.
And favorite NYC subway line?
Oh, the number 4, the Lexington Express, straight down to Brooklyn Bridge from Grand Central.
I'd have to agree. The 4.
Oh, wow. Okay. Favorite weekend getaway from New York? Did you guys escape the city at any point?
Well, if you're going to do a weekend getaway, the Finger Lakes, Watkins Glen, Letchworth State Park, those kind of places.
And one word to describe New York City?
I've got so many words floating around right now. Progressive.
Energetic.
Love it. Okay. And then one tip on how to live your best life in New York City.
Oh, just get involved, do everything. Just be out and about all the time, Live in Williamsburg or Brooklyn, so you can always be out in the streets drinking beer and eating food and being a New Yorker.
I love that. And yourself, Kristen?
I'd have to agree. Just get out there and experience everything. Find the places that you like, the sections of the city that you love, and just get out there.
Oh, you guys had a great theme, and it was like, just do it, right? Whether that's international travel, moving to New York, anything related to travel, which you guys have done so well and have your amazing blog, Where Are Those Morgans, that people can go to. Thank you so much for your time, for your insight, for what you're doing, for your amazing story. It's been a pleasure speaking with you both.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having us. It's been great.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thanks very much for your time. We've really enjoyed it. And, best of luck with everything with you for the future. And we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for tuning in to Gossipnista. Your support means the world. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends. Can't wait till next week's episode? Follow along on Instagram @Gossipnista to get my latest New York happenings. But if you live and breathe New York City like I do and want even more, go to our website @gossipnista.com, explore, and subscribe to our newsletter to get insider tips first. Lastly, if you have any questions and or scoop on the city, you can email me at gossipnista@gmail.com. Until next time, you know you love me. XOXO Gossipnista.